Howdy, Houston. Give it up for Lacey Hall. Are we in your district right now, Lacey? All right. So good luck to you. Also, we got Sam Harless and Dr. Oliver sitting here. Thank you all for your leadership in the Texas House of Representatives. Give it up for these members of the Texas House of Representatives. Listen, it's great to be back in Houston, Texas. Are you all ready to win? Yeah! Are you ready to turn Harris County red? Yeah! That begins today and tomorrow, every day through early voting, and then on Election Day, this March the 1st, and then all the way through November the 8th. We are going to win, and we're going to win big. Let me tell you why it is that we're going to win. It's going to be so easy because we're just going to show voters the difference between what Republicans stand for versus what Democrats stand for. And it's never been easier than before today because these Democrats today, they stand for socialistic ideologies that are destructive to our great state, and we will not let these big government socialists destroy the great state of Texas. Take, for example, our economy and all the jobs that it creates. Texas today is ranked the #1 state in America as the best state for doing business. Texas is the #1 state for economic development, and I'm proud to tell you Texas is also the #1 state in America as the best state to start a small business. If you look at all the job growth that we've seen and what it's done to our economy, as we gather in Houston today, Texas now has the 9th largest economy in the entire world. But there's something more important than all that, than all those numbers, is what they mean to every family in Houston and in Texas. Because as we gather in Houston today, more Texans have a job than ever before in the history of our great state. But listen, the reason why I talk about jobs, and I tie it to this socialism by the Democrats, just look at what Beto O'Rourke has talked about doing. All right, I'm sorry. I know. She called me out on it. I did get it wrong. Let me just look at what Robert Francis O'Rourke has talked about doing. Robert Francis O'Rourke has said that he would kill the high-paying energy jobs that we have in Texas. The energy jobs, by the way, that has made Texas, America, energy independent. Let me tell you something. I am running for re-election to protect those energy jobs in the Houston area and across the great state of Texas. But, you know, when you look at some of these crazy ideologies, just look at what the Democrats are trying to do. Trying to oppose their leftist agenda on our school children, in our schools. During this past session, I saw a book that was used in elementary school, where elementary school students were being taught critical race theory in the state of Texas. You know, that's the kind of thing that would happen in California and New York, but no one thought it would happen in Texas. But it did. And you know what critical race theory does? It, in part, tries to rewrite the history of the greatest country in the history of the world, and then redesign what the future looks like. But even worse, it divides people on the basis of race and then pits those people against each other, attacking each other. It teaches the contrary of what our Constitution teaches, but also teaches the contrary of what Martin Luther King Jr. taught us, and that is we're to be judged not by the color of our skin, but by the content of our character. That's what Texas stands for. So during the regular session and then another piece of legislation during a special session, we passed 2 bills that I signed into law where Texas banned the teaching or use of critical race theory in every subject, in every grade, in every public school in Texas. Texas now has the strongest ban on critical race theory of any state in the United States of America. And, you know, another thing that I think a lot of parents have learned, maybe it was because of the time when kids were at home because of COVID, maybe just because the issue has surfaced more recently. One thing that we've learned is the important role that parents play. Parents want to be involved in their child's education. No one cares about their child more than a parent does. And we need to understand the critical role that they play. And that's why I am advancing a parental bill of rights that restores parents as the primary decision maker in their child's education and health care. Parents matter in the great state of Texas. But you know what's most dangerous is when we see these radical leftist ideologies pose threats to the safety in our community. Take, for example, this radical policy that's completely destroyed Los Angeles and San Francisco and in Portland and Seattle and so many other communities. Is this radical ideology that somehow defunding the police will make communities safer. That is idiotic.